Baie mense het 'n miskonsepsie van 'n plaaswerker. 'n Plaaswerker is soos enige ander werker, iemand wat 'n edele werk doen. As plaasbestuurder lê my na in die hart in die wynbedryf was my altyd maar iets om na uit te sien. Op laerskool het ek altyd ingegaan oestye, dat en ek gaan ja, daai tyd te verdien ek nog 20 sent 'n middag. Maar dit was goed vir my geweest want so het ek geleer ken wat is die vrugdryf soos ons dit maar nou ken. Ek dink dit het my al baie geleer wat rondom 'n plaas aangaan.
We as Bonnievale Wines have provided every single course that is available in terms of actual wine farm management. So they, together with our viticulturists, attend all the information days that are provided by organizations like Vinpro and also WineTech and external vineyard consultants. Next year, the beneficiaries of Bonnievale Workers Empowerment Trust will be farming their farm on their own. We're confident that they're ready for that step. It's a huge one forward, and that, together with planting an additional 15 hectares of vineyard, takes the whole project just to an absolute different level.
Ethical trade essentially started within the wine industry simply because the wine industry in the late 1990s volunteered to be part of a project. And it really is about the consumer really being concerned about the products that they're buying, consumers being concerned about the fact that those products are made under ethical conditions, that workers are treated fairly, that workers are treated with respect.
This adversarial nature that seems to be existing within the industry makes it very difficult for the industry to go out there to anyone and says we are making progress. Because what I then do as a trade unionist, I want to have the pull down syndrome. I'll always look at those things that are negative because you don't give me the space to sit down with you and engage with those issues. They're not going to always agree. It's labor vis-a-vis business. People with two different interests, but they've got the same concerns. And I think ethical trade plays a very important role at workplace level to transform how people interact with one another, how respect and dignity is bestowed to workers.
I think what we've identified is the fact that a lot of the producers and a lot of the farmers want to assist their communities, but their expertise is in making wine, their expertise is in farming. It's not necessarily in social challenges and in community development.
As jy 'n ding wil begin, dan soek jy mos 'n vernoot wat jy weet jy kan vertrou. En ek dink dit is wat hier gebeur het. Die mense met wie hulle hierdie vennootskap aangegaan het, is generasies op die plaas, is families.
Ek is hier gebore op hierdie plaas, op Twyfeling, waar my voorouers ook gewerk het. Ons is 'n familie, ons is al die jare, voor 1994, het ons al klaar die mense bemagtig. En meneer Jannie Bosman was eintlik my mentor. Hy het my aangemoedig wat ek vandag is en waar ek is.
As ek myself kan vat waar ek vandaan gekom het as 'n algemene werker en hoe ek bemagtig is, hoe my lewe verander het. In 2009 het ek die plaaswerkers van die jaar kompetisie gewen en deur het vir my oopgegaan. En as ons kyk op die plaas self, met die fairtrade, met die swart bemagtiging, mense se lewensomstandighede het verbeter.
Toe ons die fairtrade akkreditasie kry in 2009, toe raak dinge net beter want ons kon ons eie wyne uitvoer na die buiteland waar fondse kon kry vir sosiale opheffing. En ons kon vandag sien wat dit bereik het en hoe ons mense gegroei het.
Ek het baie geaspireer en ek wou graag uitbrei en ek het geweet dit gaan 'n probleem is. Ek kan nie op my eie uitbrei nie. Ek het iemand nodig om my te help en wie gaan jou beter help as jou werksmense self. En ek het die gevoel gehad ek moet hulle kry dat hulle nie vir my en my familie werk nie, maar ons moet hierdie ding almal vir onsself werk. Toe het ons ook begin en sê maar wel, nou moet deursigtigheid wees. Ons moet 'n stelsel hê waar almal weet wat aangaan en dan moet kommunikasie wees en ek dink dit het op die einde geloop met eintlik die stigting op die einde van die Werkers Trust.
Behuising is een van die kwelpunte op ons plase. Nie net in Boland nie, maar in die hele Weskaap. En dit is waar ons bemagtig is, want ons mense kan voordeel trek uit behuising.
Vir die mense beteken dit baie op die plase. Ons plaasmense het nog nooit die voorreg gehad om in sulke woonstelle te gewoon het nie.
Essentially, what they do when they join Rita is they commit to adopting an ethical code. So they commit to actually implementing the requirements of that code in their business, on their farms, in their cellars. The important thing around the audit is that it allows us then the opportunity to use the audit as a diagnostic tool to go and monitor to which extent they are in fact adopting the code and to which extent they are implementing the requirements.
Each of the farmers that farm with wine grapes are members of WINPRO. There's about 4,000. So you're finding the organizations and the farms and the wineries are all coming together under one umbrella to drive a common purpose.
We've seen substantial change in housing. There are no housing laws as such or municipal regulations that govern farm worker housing, but we believe that's a space in which we are seeing improvements happening where they didn't happen previously.
Ek het 'n woonstel gekry en ek is baie excited. Ek kan nie wag om in te trek hier, munisipaliteit moet klaar maak met die krag. Ek glo ons gaan lekker hier bly. Ek is baie excited en dankbaar vir dit wat hulle vir ons gee, want wanneer sou ek my huis kon bekostig. Ons het 2004 by Bosman daar kom bly, toe was ek nog op skool. Na matriek het ek self gaan aansoek doen vir 'n beurs en toe kwalifiseer ek nie. En toe gaan my pa eendag en vra by die plaas of hulle beurs het en sê ek moet kom en kom ek sê toe sê hulle vir my hulle gaan vir my 'n beurs gee en al wat ek moet doen is net my prakties kom doen op die plaas. Hulle het niks teruggevra nie.
The trust stipulates that if you leave the services of Barnardt Winery, you are also no longer a beneficiary of the trust. The simple reason for that is that if we left everybody on the trust that leaves the farm, eventually you have 200 beneficiaries to share a little bit of money, then there's really no benefit. So families have a mechanism in their hands to keep their future generations into this trust to share in the future.
We're trying to make the wine industry an employer of choice, and in order to do that, you need to create opportunities and you need to make sure that you support people in everything, in all aspects of their lives. And the social side for us is just very important to make sure that we retain people, especially talented people, in our wine industry.
Well, I was at first very intimidated by this field. It was something that I was not used to, and wine in our community was something that was frowned upon in certain areas. It was something that was totally misunderstood. So for me, just coming from that background and enrolling at Stellenbosch University, I just saw in myself how much I've changed. Starting out with the Cape Winemakers Guild in my third year already when they offered me the bursary, I've just grown and blossomed into someone that actually could be an ambassador for the wine industry in South Africa.
Traditionally, wine is not a black consumer product, and so when you think about consumerism and then you move on to actually owning a wine business, it's even more difficult to sell to an individual, to get them to come and invest in an industry that they know very little about. But I think the big thing for us is trying to build a spirit of entrepreneurship. We need people who are going to employ people. So it's all good and well that you qualify and that you work at a company, but what we actually need are people who are going to create jobs. And that's what the businesses, whether they're black-owned wine brands or the farming businesses, are going to do very well.
There are a lot of programs and initiatives currently in South Africa. One, for instance, is the WINPRO WISE, which stands for Wine Industry Strategic Exercise. And what that basically is, it's a roadmap with certain strategic goals. And I mean, if all producers and big role players in the industry just align themselves with those strategic goals, the process would just go that much faster, and by the end of the day we will be where we want to be.
Keeping track of all the training at the moment is definitely a challenge. The wine industry is doing a lot, and just geographically massive in terms of numbers of employment, up to 275,000 people employed at any given time, especially around harvest. So what we've done is we've created a learner management system that's going to capture all of the training that's happening in the South African wine industry. It's a first for us, and I think for an agri-sector in South Africa. We're very excited about it. If you are an individual who has been trained, whether it's vineyard worker training or safety, health and safety on a bottling line in the wine industry, that training will be captured onto a system under your ID number, and you'll be able to use that as an electronic CV for anyone who wants to see that you are actually an employable, trainable individual. And I think that's going to help us really map everything that's happening in terms of training in the South African wine industry, and also help us to identify gaps. You know, it's not perfect, and we understand that, but we can use technology to try and help us map that and also just share with the world, share our learnings, share with the other agri-sectors as well.
Areas around health and safety have improved. Many of the workers would have reported that it was the first time that they actually had training in health and safety. We've also seen, particularly when it comes to the formalization of contracts for workers and for seasonal workers, that a lot more has been done in that area where previously workers had no contracts. They now have contracts, they understand their working conditions, their hours of work, all of that is made far more clear, and it allows workers to be able to negotiate around those conditions of work. We've seen farm workers that have moved from the vineyard, they've actually moved into the cellar and taken on technical skills. And there's quite a lot of work that's been done at the moment around skills development within the wine industry, and the whole colour of wine starting to change and becoming dynamic and becoming very diverse in its nature. And that's what's really exciting about the opportunities that are there for young people to actually take up in wine.
Ek het gewerk as 'n kelderassistent, waar ek basies alles gedoen het. Ek het kelders skoongemaak, tanke skoongemaak en die tanke self geklim. In die jaar 2000 het ek Suid-Afrika verteenwoordig in Tokio, waar ons ambassadeurs was. En in 2002 het ek my eerste skopkursus gedoen. En in 2005-06 het ek 'n beurs gekry by te stel. En ek het verder geswat by Elsenburg, waar ek wingerdbou en wynkunde geswat het.
Wine Training South Africa is a non-profit organisation with a goal to empower people through knowledge. During 2016, we did research on the academic level of our learners, and it was interesting to see that more than 60% of our learners who enter the first level of the training are matriculated. So there's a big difference from 15 years ago.
The onus is upon the farm owner to actually engage or take their farm workers to those platforms and get them there. And I think what's important is for them to note that this adds value to them as a farm owner, because if you have a much more skilled farm worker, the value that they add to your overall product is important.
The winery provides financial mentorship. It provides vineyard practice mentorship. And it also provides corporate governance mentorship to the trustees at regular trust meetings. A vineyard you plant, first 3-4 years there's no production. 5, 6, 7 years you start covering your costs, and in year 9, 10, 11, that's when there's a bit of net profit coming out of a vineyard in any normal circumstances. Today I'm very happy to say that we are already paying dividends, financial dividends, to the beneficiaries of the trust.
So if you look at land ownership, to buy land in the traditional wine growing areas is quite expensive, so that becomes a barrier to entry. So what you'll find is there's quite a bit of participation higher up the value chain, where people are buying brands and building their label from that end and then coming in to buy property.
The harvest that's coming from this farm has grown so significantly that there's going to be a meaningful payout for these beneficiaries soon.
They stay on the farm, so they're automatically quite isolated from a lot of the urban opportunities. Because they're isolated, we wanted to then provide opportunities to actually bring these services, much needed services, to them.
Once they started to work on these computers, they then became aware of what's happening outside. Through the internet, they could make contact with students abroad, and they could link up with educational institutions abroad.
So making it mobile, we're able to actually then go to each and every farm at least once weekly, and they are able to then get those kind of necessary programs in computer literacy. And it's not just for the child, it's now for the parents as well, because we're encouraging active parenthood. We're encouraging parents who take an initiative and take an active interest in their children's lives.
We at Papers Project are trying to curb the rising rate of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. We get pregnant mamas, we buzz them in, they get trained and they get educated about the health, about social well-being, about their personal well-being. They get trained about the effects that alcohol and smoking has on their unborn baby, and During this training session, the mama have to pledge that they're not going to drink anything during the pregnancy. In the near term, they receive a baby box full of baby stuff that they can use for the first 3 months after the baby is born.
And I think that is what our holistic approach is all about. It's about being there through the entire life of a child, and therefore throughout the entire life of that specific adult as well.
We advocate healthy wellness for the farm worker. So we'll screen the farm worker for diabetes, for cholesterol, for hypertension, for high blood pressure, for TB, for HIV. We do cervical smears for the women, and then we refer the patients if they are needed. We also look after our children. We do growth development, and we do weight monitoring, and we do deworming, and as well as vitamin A.
We've come to collectively take responsibility and collectively bring the other guys in and say, we have to move forward. We have to get this thing right as a unit, as an industry, because at the end of the day, they won't say it is Farmer X. They'll say it's the South African wine industry.
I'm coming from a background where I got mentored, and now I have the opportunity to mentor someone else. I just wanted to show people out there that you shouldn't look at your surroundings, but actually do something about it.
Everybody's got a hunger to want to be better. Yeah? Everybody wants to strive to improve their lives. And I think often the question for young people is, how do I latch onto that opportunity? How do I even know about the opportunities?
The people who've been able to share their love for farming with the people who work with them and for them are definitely reaping the rewards today.
We should sell ourselves for what we are worth. And I think we undersell ourselves as South Africans. We undersell our wine. And if you look in terms of apples for apples, in terms of quality, we beat some of the big giants of the wine world. We need to develop that. We need to have South Africans proud of South African wines. But obviously, we have to make sure that all the other boxes that need to be ticked are ticked.
Belangrik is as jy daai liefde vir die grond begin kweek het, dan volg die ander goed net outomaties. So jy moet gelukkig wees om in daai wingerd te werk. Jy moet hom gaan vertroetel.
In no way will I sit here and say everything is rosy within the industry itself. But if you're going to demand all this to be placed on this bottle that you're going to enjoy and drink as a consumer, are you prepared to pay a higher price, in order to ensure that the very worker that you want to see his or her life being enhanced at least benefits, from your enjoyment of the product that they have?
I think it's a matter of people just saying, what role can I play? Where can I add my 2 cents to make sure that this actually works? Because it's for the betterment of the industry. There's many guys out there that as farm producers, as farm owners, we have to just go to them and say, how do you get it right? How does it add value?
The wine industry has the potential to be a benchmark on several different fronts. We've got fantastic wines, amazing terroirs, old soils. The product itself is amazing. The people who make the product are amazing. If we get this right, if we get it right, making and creating amazing wines and creating an inclusive industry, I think that can be used as a benchmark for other emerging countries, even for the developing countries, to show that this is how you get around and this is how you create inclusivity in a sector where it didn't exist before.